what's going on? Welcome back to That Podcast with Isaac Danna. This is episode 119, and today I have a very special guest on the show, and his name is Perry Power. So welcome, Perry. The reason I have him on the show is because, well, my timeline is full of positive energy and positive reinforcement. The quotes on his timeline are just so inspiring, and to have that pop up in my feed is just such a pleasant surprise. So I wanted him to pop up in your feed as well. So I wanted to get him on the podcast and just get to know a little bit about him and what he's been up to. So how's your day going so far?
It's doing great. And you know what? Like, listeners, I didn't even pay him to say that. Like, that was amazing. Cheers, dude. I appreciate that.
No problem, bro.
Yeah, no, I'm doing fantastic. It's been a long day. It's been a good day, busy day. Literally just got back from having a fresh haircut.
Looking fresh?
That feeling? Yeah, you know that feeling when you get your hair done and you're like, wow, I'm on top of the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it.
My girlfriend's been cutting my hair lately, and I told her, I was like, oh, listen, I have a podcast episode on Monday. I was like, I'm going to have to get a fresh trim, and then I just totally forgot to pencil that into my schedule. So I was just like, oh, so you're making me look like shit here. This is great.
Brilliant, man.
So listen, so what have you been up to recently?
Wow, great question. So what have I been up to recently? I have just been focusing every single day. My focus sort of refreshes, and my focus for that day is just to impact one life, you know, and that's what I aim to do every single day, just impact one life. And I do that whether it be through a particular piece of content, Facebook Live, sending somebody a message saying that I appreciate them. So that's what I've been focusing on quite heavily. But as well, some of you listeners may know, may not know, but I'm a storyteller. So I work with entrepreneurs to create their own personal story and then inject storytelling into their content. So that's what I've been doing heavily very recently.
Amazing. And when you say storytelling, so I see that seems to be a huge trend for you. That seems to be what motivates you. Somebody's story, using that as their message and maybe their product eventually or something like that. Could you explain a little bit more about why storytelling is so important? Because that's actually that's probably the main reason I got you onto the podcast. Just because I think everybody's got that message, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, yes. Yeah. Now, I think the best way for me to explain why I do this is to kind of go into a bit of a story about me, because that will help sort of bridge the gap.
Perfect.
So I'm from London. I have an acting background. I know you do as well. Yeah. Have an acting background. When I was 10 years old, the best way for me to explain this is that when I was 10 years old, something happened, and it was a secret where I wanted to keep it with me until the day I die. I was like, I'm going to take this in my grave. I don't want to talk about it. And then that was cool. Year after year, I kept that a secret. Very, very occasionally would revisit it. And then in 2017, so last year, June the 1st, I got a call from my 13-year-old brother telling me that our dad has just died. And it was sudden. So he was a diabetic a couple of months before. He was told he was diabetic. And then that morning, there's paramedics around, and they said, right, we're just going to take Andy down to the hospital to even out his blood sugar levels. So, okay, cool. Gets him back to the ambulance van, has a heart attack on the way to the hospital, doesn't make it. And that was a huge shock, because my dad was my best friend. Like, we weren't, because my original mum, my biological mum, she walked out when I was 4. So my dad raised me. So it was a very close relationship. And that really sort of took a big hit on me. And I didn't know how to handle it, but I did, because we got no other choice but to do that. But for about a year or so after his death, I really did some sort of reflection work, 1 on me and 2 on my dad. And but for about 3 years prior to his death, he just went downhill. Like, he started to drink more, became an invisible alcoholic, would never talk about his emotions or events. He basically just lived as a victim to his own story, right? It's all going to start to link together in just a bit. And I remember once I asked him why was he drinking, and he said to fight away the demons. So as I started to dive a bit more deeper into his story, I realized that he'd been living his whole life wearing different masks, right? Just wearing different masks, acting a certain way in a social setting. Like, I noticed when he'd be at a party, if he's sober, he would be on the outline, right? He would be in the shadows, so to speak. And if he wanted to be the center of attention, he would need to have a drink, right? And I started to notice all these different things. And I was like, looked at myself and I was like, if I could keep this secret a secret, what happened when I was 10, there may be just a small chance that I go down the same road as my dad and pass away before the age of 50. And I was like, I don't want that. Because my whole life, I didn't realize, but I'd been following my dad's footsteps, wearing a mask, acting a certain way. You know, somebody seeing me cry, they're like, whoa, Perry, you don't cry. And I'll wipe away that tear and I'll walk away, whatever, you mask it, put it in that secret chest at the back of your mind. And I was like, right, I need to start opening up more. That was my initial thought. And I went to a mastermind event. There's me, 4 other people, and they said, right, guys, introduce yourself. And they started on one side of the room. So I was the last one. So I was like, because I was on the outside. So I was either going to be first or last. I was last. I said, I don't know what to talk about. What do I say? And all of a sudden, I just blurted out. And my secret was when I was 10 years old, I got sexually abused by my granddad for over a year. And when I was 11, my dad happened to find out about it because it just came up in conversation, even though I think he steered a conversation. I reckon that he had an inkling of what was going on, and he steered a conversation in that way to get me to talk about it. But I opened up about that, and it's crazy because for 14 years, I'd been living inside my own head, judging myself, hating myself, not liking who's looking back in the mirror, because I blame myself for not talking out about it. I blame myself for letting it happen. And I thought other people would do the same thing. So when I shared that and I saw that everybody else didn't do that, they loved me, they included me, they appreciated me. I was like, wow, okay. So what would happen if I continuously share this? What would happen if I continuously live my life being my authentic, true self? And that's what I started to do. And on my drive home from that mastermind, I was like, Perry, you need to share this story. You shared it to 4 people, you need to share it to a lot of people. And I was like, I could tell my family, my friends, like, no, create a video, put it on Facebook. This was the voice inside my head. I was like, oh, but I just ended up doing it. It took me 6 or 7 tries. I ended up posting the video on Facebook, and then boom, everybody just loved and appreciated me. And then from there, it's crazy, right? Because I've got a fitness background. So I was I still am, so to speak, an online fitness coach. And when I was sharing that story, people started to message me. Wow, you've helped me do this. You've helped me think differently. You've helped me get out of this dark spot. You know, I really started to change lives, but initially I did it for me, right? And then just started to snowball and really snowball. And then I started to and this is the thing, storytelling links back to acting, right? Because when we're in actors, we have to storytell. Otherwise, people aren't going to watch our film or watch our theater. And I didn't see that there was a bridge there either. And then all of a sudden, entrepreneurs started to reach out to me and ask me to help develop their personal story and then help to use their story to sell their service or sell their product or sell themselves as a personal brand. And then that's how it bridged together. And it just blew up.
That's amazing. Oh, my God. Well, I don't even know where to begin. That story just happened so fast. And the fact that you have turned out like this, it's clearly just, it clearly shows what changing your mindset actually does for you about any situation, and how using your own message really can help other people. And just think, if you just kept that in, like you're saying, if you just kept that in, man, like, where would you, like, the people that you've changed their lives already, their lives wouldn't have been changed without that video. So that's crazy important for listeners right now, because they might have a message that they're afraid to get out too. You know what I mean? And is that when your coaching comes into play? So people are coming to you being like, hey, do you find people confiding in you a little bit more now?
Oh, big time.
Really?
Big time. Yeah, 100%. Like, people just, a lot of the time, their first message, like, let's just say, here's an example. So last night, I posted my story somewhere. It was in a Facebook group. Posted my story to introduce myself, kind of like what I just did here on the podcast. And I had somebody reach out to me, and it was the first message. You know how sometimes, like, if I ever met you before and I just send you a quick PM on Facebook and just say, oh, hey, how's it going? Open up that conversation. He didn't say, hey, he just went straight into his story saying, reading. Yeah.
Wow.
And like, yeah. But I get that not consistently, but I do get it. Right. And obviously what had happened is that this is the thing with storytelling and sharing your personal story, is that the average Joe who meets somebody, it will take years for them, 2 people, to get to a certain point where they can actually confide in each other and open up about personal stuff, right?
Right.
But you can really speed that process by, like, 1 post, for example, right? and just escalate that level of trust. So he got this level of trust in me, which is insane for him to talk to a complete stranger and talk to me about how he was a drug addict and how he doesn't know how to transform that into his story. And he's never told anybody about that before. And I was the first person he's told.
Wow.
It's crazy.
That is crazy. So do you think it's because you dropped that wall for yourself too? And now he sees that and he's like, oh man, I wonder, oh man, that's so crazy to me.
This is the thing, right? This is the point. The important thing to understand is that when you share your story, you give people permission to share their own story.
Wow.
That's it. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
It's as simple. You're giving them permission. If they don't hear your story, they don't realize that they are in a place to share their own story.
Right. And so here's a question for you. So when I first started, I don't know, I've gone through a whole bunch of shit in my life, and I thought. And then I would always compare my story or my situation to somebody else's that had it worse. And I was like, oh, well, it's not that bad. Yeah. You know what I mean? And then I was like, well, I can handle it. I don't want to be that guy complaining about my issues all the time. Or, you see a bunch of people just posting craziness on Facebook about their life or why it's so bad. And I was like, I don't want to be that person. So then, but then at some point it kind of switched over, and I don't know. I don't know what happened, but it just kind of, I just figured out how to be happy like every single day, and just be motivated and set my own goals and really like strive to achieve something worth achieving, I guess. And once I had that, I felt like the little guy in the back of my head being like, well, why should you share your story? Or what makes your story better than this? Or why would you even post that? Or, are you just looking for attention? All of those thoughts, I think popped in before.
It's natural.
It's natural, right? And I think that is huge for other people too. I know a ton of people that are like, oh, well, I mean, I've had people tell it to me like, well, what makes your story different? Like, why would anybody learn from you? Or why would anybody, trust your background or like why is it worth you telling that story? And that really plays over in my head, but now I just kind of eliminate that thought, if somebody does that. So have you noticed
themselves?
Right, exactly. It is. There's a bit of a, what's the word I'm looking for here? They don't believe in themselves enough to actually bring that story to light.
That's it.
Or, there's a little bit of self-conscious thing there. So how do you help these people after they come to you? Say this guy, I know he just messaged you, but say this guy comes to you with that story. Now, what do you say to him in return to kind of, that's a heavy story to read real fast. If you got that like at first at 7 a.m. in the morning, man, that's a crazy story to read right off the bat. So how do you go in there and help him from there after he tells you what he's got going on?
Yeah, definitely. Here's the thing, right? Like, so I always need to find out what they want to try and achieve, because I've had this before and I choose to not work with them, is when people want to create their personal story just to sell. Because then I'm like, sorry, mate, nah, I'm not working with you. Because I never did that myself, so I can't relate to that side of the coin, right?
Right.
And two, but there's different aspects of this. What I'm trying to say is like, when you create your personal story, because you need to do it for you first. Like that person reaching out to me straight away, I can guarantee you he's got some issues going on that he needs help with, right? And because that's like a hint of like desperation where he just wants someone's help, and he trusted me enough to reach out to me straight away with his story or part of his story like that, right?
Right.
So with someone like him, is that it's all about going through their stories. So like I'll say to him, right, so let's say we're hopping on a call, but so talk me through your story. Now, they may not have an actual structure to it and they just mind dump on me, but that's fine. Talk to me through their story. And there'll be some things that they can just brush over, because some people, they think that they're normal is everyone else is normal, right? But just because it's your normal doesn't mean it's everyone else is normal. So they may brush over some things and then I'll dissect it. And like, I'll be like, well, hold on a second. Let's just go back to that point you just said there. Talk to me about that again. And I'm like, well, what about it? No, just talk to me about it. And then they'll just start chatting. I'm like, see, this is the thing, you're brushing over that. Let's revisit that, like ride the wave of emotions. And they're like, wow, actually, that probably was a pinnacle moment in my life. But I just never really thought of it like that. And then we start to sort of dissect all of these little things, and I call them chapters, right? So the chapters in your life is like, we are walking books. You've got a book, you've got chapters that form the book. We've got chapters in our life that form the person that we are today. So it's all about finding those chapters and then creating like what I call your defining moment. So out of those chapters, there'll be one moment, right? One moment which was like your all is lost moment, where you're in a situation where your back's against the wall and you had two options. One was to stand up and fight and to reclaim what was yours or stand up for what you believe in, or the second option was to give up and quit because the going was getting really, really bad. But you decided to stand up and fight for it and come out the other side a transformed person. And that's your defining moment. And that is what helped create your message. And when you start to share that message, that creates a movement around it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that absolutely makes sense. So do you find, so there's a part of their chapter, right? They have a chapter that they just kind of like believe is somebody else's. Also, you know, they believe that chapter is also somebody else's chapter, right?
Yeah.
Which, so how do you tell them actually, no, that's specific to your life. So you can still use that as a story or a piece of content or something like that.
So yeah, this is the thing, right? I think like when people, and you mentioned it earlier, and it definitely does come down to comparison, you know, is when, let's say we may have a listener right now who's just heard my story. Then they're like, well, I didn't go through anything like that. So, and then they get bummed out. And they're like, well, what's the point of me even talking about my story? Because I've had a normal life. But that's their normal, right?
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean it's everyone else's normal.
Right.
And I think people are trying to locate something like drastic in their life, and they try to link a movement around something being drastic, being negative in their life. And it doesn't, like, I need to reframe that. So when I'm talking to somebody, it's actually pretty simple. I literally just say to them, like, listen, everything you've been through is unique to you. You can have two people go through the exact same experience, but have two different stories of it, have two different outlooks. You won't get exactly the same.
Right.
Which is the beauty of it.
There's I have a very, very, very good friend of mine, and we were shooting, we'll go back to acting in a minute. We were shooting a web series for him. It's called Becoming, and he was showing me the locations, like where he grew up in Jersey. And I was like, okay, cool. And part of it was like really, really ghetto with rundown buildings and, you know, like boarded up homes and triple deckers and whatever. And I didn't grow up around that. You know what I mean? I was like, okay, well, even if we have the same story, we're here in this moment right now. He clearly knows his neighborhood is a little different than mine. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And then this is a prime example. We're going over to the basketball courts, and he's like, oh, I used to play when I was younger here and whatever. And there's a little pool over here. And he's like, you know, one time I came down here with the guys, and he just said this so nonchalantly. He's like, one time I came down here with the guys, and one of the ball players lost, and he pulled a gun and pointed it right at my head. And then, you know, I had to like call my mom and everything and have her like come pick me up because I was freaking out after he like left and whatever. And, you know, it's just kind of a threat move. But he said it so like, that it happens on that court, like, you know, once a week. And I was just like, bro, that's not normal. Okay. In my life, like, you got to understand that either that's a piece of content for your show that you're writing or whatever. And another example of his story versus mine, right? We were in similar boats where everybody was like trying to move out of their parents' house or trying to find that independent thing. You know what I mean? I think as guys specifically, you always want to be like in charge or take care of people around you or the family or whatever. And he had a hard time writing anything and acting and everything. And then when he found out that he could use his story, which was living with his mom still, when he could use that, and all of a sudden it became relatable for other people that are living in the basements and living, you know, in small bedrooms with, you know, another family member or something like that. All of a sudden his entire show just kind of like fell onto paper, because he realized that his story was actually helping too. It wasn't necessarily just like, you know, trying to produce content or using his story for, you know, a couple likes or anything, but it was actually going to help somebody while they're in the same situation in another location, you know, in the US or even just in Jersey. Somebody else is also living in their parents' basement or in their parents' home, and they're just like, oh, I wish I could fucking leave. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's interesting how fast things, you know, like you had everybody come to you, right? As soon as you shared your message, you had everybody be like, oh, hey, you know, and it's funny how fast things happen like that.
But very quickly, before you move on, is that Ed Milet, right?
Yep.
Yeah. He talks about quite frequently, he goes, because, you know, like a lot of people in the entrepreneurial industry, whenever they share their story, they always say, oh, I came from like a very poor neighborhood, dropped out of school. That's like a thing, right? Mm-hmm. What is what they say, and they get their point. But, and it's very true. Ed Milet said, well, I didn't have that background. I grew up middle class. But he uses that as part of his story, whereas the average person who grew up middle class, they will feel like they don't have a story to tell because it's normal, it's middle. They weren't poor, they weren't rich. Middle was just the middle class is just the middle slate. I just find it very interesting, but he was still able to use that as part of his story. Why? Because it's just how he grew up.
So he thought,
very simple.
So you're saying a lot of people think that the middle class is like, you just have an average story.
Exactly. Average story. I didn't go through tough times. You know, it's just a nice upbringing. Like, I had a conversation with somebody a few weeks ago, and they're like, oh, well, I had a nice upbringing. My parents treated me right. I'm like, one, you saying I had a nice upbringing, my parents treated me right. You probably just skipped like 15 years there. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, what aren't you telling? That's a dead giveaway right there.
Yeah. So, but it's just all comes down to, I think, because we have been brought up to not talk about ourselves a lot. And, you know, like, if we're going to be crying about things we've talked about, like we've gone through, somebody said, oh, just man up, move on. It's happened, kind of thing. And we're like, oh, well, so we'll downplay everything we've gone through. And that's why I think a lot of people struggle to realize that what they've been through is probably actually worth talking about.
Well, yeah. And you know, the funny thing is, so this is actually kind of funny happening right now. So I just literally did a road trip. You're my first podcast episode since I've decided to move to Portland, Oregon. So I was in Massachusetts, and then my girlfriend and I, we drove all the way across the country. We wanted to go coast to coast, and we did it in a couple months or so, you know, and again, I'm like forgetting a lot of details that probably actually matter to somebody else. You know what I mean? But because I was in the process, while you're going through it, you forget to do a whole bunch of stuff. So I started documenting the trip and everything. And then when I got out to Oregon, I was like, okay, well, I've left the negativity back in Massachusetts, if there was any, you know what I mean? I had to like change up my environment and search for like-minded individuals and whatnot. And some people don't even do that, right? So I take that for granted. I start thinking, oh, well, you know, I just couldn't deal with it anymore. So I just went up and drove, you know. I felt like I was running away a little bit, but then I started thinking about it. I started having conversation with people, and they were like, wow, you know, this is like my second time moving away from Massachusetts. I did New York for a little while, and now I'm out in Oregon. And there's no timeline. There's just like, the way I'm looking at it is like, well, I just needed a new location to stay for a little bit while I get my online businesses up and running, while I get my podcast and, you know, Danna University up and running and stuff. It made me, it seemed like the right thing to do, but a lot of people don't even think that just that thought, they just pass over that thought. And I've had a hard time talking to people because I thought I was, like here we go. The thought comes really easy to me, right? So hard decisions seem to be probably the most easy thing for me to do, right? I love making decisions in that moment where it seems like crucial or life or death, and those decisions are really easy for me to make. And I feel like a lot of people don't take the necessary steps to make those decisions that will benefit the future version of themselves. And because I've made so many of those decisions, and this isn't like a bragging thing, but because I've made so many of those decisions, that's just my natural way of thinking now. And I take for granted how easy it is for me to make those decisions. So when I have a conversation with somebody else and they're like, oh, well, you know, I'm unhappy right now, or, you know, I'm same old in a relationship. It's like, well, why don't you just leave? Like,
yeah,
you know what I mean? And there's a whole lot of things like that. And I have a hard time relating to people when they don't make decisions like that, and it's become complicated. Have you witnessed something similar or no?
Dude, I'm the same. I can make, and I have done, like, I've made big decisions, but with me, I'm the same. I love making big decisions where the outcome could be really bad or really good. Right. And I love that, right? And I absolutely love it. And I moved out of home when I was 18. You know, I really don't care about possible consequences. I don't really care. I just want to make a decision. But with me, I make a decision quick, right? So let's just say, like, I'm sitting here right now. I'm like, I really want to go and do that. The average Joe would be like, okay, I'm going to put certain things in place and I'm going to go do it next year. Me, no, I'll probably go and do it tomorrow or tonight. Right. And trust me, but here's the thing, right? So you got that end of the scale, which I love doing, which the average Joe can't or don't or choose not to. But then the other scale, as simple as picking somewhere to eat tonight, oh, do I find that tough.
Really?
Yeah. Trust me, if we go to a restaurant and they give us a menu, I'm known for it, buddy. I'm known for it. Everybody goes out to eat with me. They tell me to have a look at the menu on the website before we leave the house. I am so bad. It's crazy, the different scale.
So I don't have that problem. So or that's not a problem, but I don't do that. So it's funny because my girlfriend does do that. She'll look at the website because she knows that when I go to the restaurant, I'm like, all right, I'm going to have this. But so I want to know a little bit more about that. Why do you have a hard time choosing, like, say, between a chicken sandwich and a burger when you go out to eat?
I think I don't know actually. I think maybe I'm just trying to think now, because I'm the same when it comes to maybe going to Netflix and picking a film.
Right.
I'm the exact same, right? It will get to where 40 minutes have gone past. I'm like, I'm not even going to put a bloody film on anymore. And I don't. Yeah, because I've had enough.
Yeah.
And I'm just trying to think, what is it? And I don't know. I know with food, I love food too much. Like, let's just say there's a steak and then there's a half a chicken. Right. I'm imagining the taste of a steak. Like, I give it too much thought. I'm imagining the taste of steak in my mouth, and imagining the taste of chicken. I'm like, but I want that, but then I want that, and I can't make a decision. And then recently, I've tried to get better at it. And you know what's annoying is that I'll just make an instant decision. And usually that meal that I just made an instant decision, I regret, because it wasn't nice, and I should have gone with the first option. I'm like, oh, well, I prefer the old Perry kind of thing, you know?
Right. But you don't find that happening when you have to make somewhat harder decisions, right? So say like you're about to spend, let's use like a website or something, any software that you know is an investment in yourself or an investment in your future, or, you know, there's still here. Let's go back one. When you reach out to somebody to get them on your podcast, right?
Yeah.
Some people can't make that choice to invite somebody on the podcast. Yes, they want a podcast. That's a thought, right? But they haven't had one yet. And then, or they don't do enough research. You know, they haven't made the decision to do enough research on how to create your own podcast, right? So you have a very easy, your decision process is very easy when you reach out and talk to these people. So what makes that really, really easy? And is that just kind of come natural to you? Like just having conversation?
I was going to say, I don't know why, but this is such a tough question for me to answer.
Really?
Because I don't want to be that guy who just says it comes naturally, because, I don't know, but usually when people say, it just comes naturally, you just want to bloody punch him or something. You know? And like when it doesn't come naturally to you, and you got somebody that says it comes naturally to me, and be like, oh, shut up, man.
Right.
And, but with me,
so not to interrupt, is it actually fairly difficult for you to reach out to somebody on social media? Do you have to do you have butterflies right before you message them, or right before they get on the podcast or anything?
No, so stuff like that, I don't think about. Maybe it comes from the acting days of just getting out my comfort zone from an early age.
Okay.
Maybe, I don't know. I'm trying to link it, but I never second guess it. Like if I have to make a big decision, whether it's I don't know, going to, I think when was it? Here's one example, is that, when was this? Must have been about 6 or 7 months ago. I wanted to find a coach to help me with my online fitness business a while back, right? And I found him, and then he said to me, well, we got a mastermind in literally under 2 weeks' time. We got a mastermind event, which is what I talked about before, yeah?
Sure.
And then I was like, okay, cool. He goes, yeah, we've got 5 people that's coming. It's 5 slots, and it's going to cost $2,000. And then at that time, I didn't have any money, right? And I didn't have any money, and I didn't have any renewal of clients or appointments that could make me think, oh, well, I've got some opportunity to get some income between now and a week and a half, right?
Yeah.
I had nothing, right? But I was like, okay, cool. And I told him, yeah, I'm coming. Yeah, put me a spot. Yeah, I'll get you that $2,000. Like, just a decision like that. I'm like, 100%, I'll be there. Done. I don't care. I don't know how I'm going to get the money. I don't have the money, but I'll get it. And I did.
Sorry, there's a dog in the background. My bad.
No, it's fine. And maybe I've always been like that, and it's tricky to answer. I've always just been so comfortable. And I've realized that I've been like this because people who, like my parents, like the average parent, who can't make decisions like that.
Oh, it drives me nuts.
Yeah, and I'm just the complete opposite. And I don't know, maybe I actually don't know the answer. I'm just going to ramble on here. I don't know.
Sure. Okay, so here's the thing. You mentioned confidence, right? So yeah. I think that is maybe also what led us both into acting a little bit. There was just a slight bit more confidence than the people around me, or when I was younger, I did back in my beauty days, I did a lot of modeling. So it was like I was told back then. But I was told, you should be a model or whatever. And then it's funny because my surrounding, if I looked at the people that I was surrounded by, they might think that I could be a model. But then when I moved to New York, my story totally different. These guys were shipped in from Italy, you know what I mean? Just looking gorgeous. And I was like, I'm so out of place here. I should be telling them. And then the roles reversed, and I started telling them, oh, they could be a model. You know what I mean? But the confidence level, I think everybody just kind of like telling me, oh, you can do this, you can do this. That kind of raised my confidence really early, and that's why I actually moved to New York. When did you get into acting? Because I think that acting really
we're going there now.
We're going there. I think acting just kind of enhanced the confidence, and even I don't mean to keep talking. You're the guest, but I think acting kind of enhanced my confidence level. And for me specific, I don't know if this happened to you as well, but when I was in school, I started taking headshots of other actors, and I said, you know, because I needed some money, so I was like, oh, I'm gonna make some money off of these actor buddies I got. So I started taking headshots, and I realized that they were not as comfortable in front of the camera as I was. I didn't know if that was from my modeling days or whatever, but I was like, man, you're an actor. You should be like fully capable of staring at this camera or, you know, looking off to the side or whatever, because you're going to be on camera for the rest of your life if you choose to do this. You know what I mean? And I realized that I still had a little bit of a higher confidence threshold, I guess, even when I was shooting that person. So do you have a similar thing with the acting when it comes to confidence?
Yeah, this is the thing, right? Like, I won't say always, but I'll probably say, because I was never bullied or anything like that could possibly stamp on my level of confidence. Luckily, I wasn't bullied.
Were you the bully?
No, I wasn't the bully. But for as long as I can remember, I can probably say I've always had a lot of confidence. I have been the confidence guy. I don't know where it came from, but I just have. I've always, even though it's more managed now, I've always had a huge ego, right? But but like, you know, the ego where like the guy's like, who's this guy, right? Who's this guy over here? And he's got this guy standing in the corner. That was me. And but now I've gotten rid of the unhealthy ego, because we know how bad that can be, which I thought was all wrapped under one umbrella, this ego thing.
Oh, that's
good. But
hold on.
Yeah,
let me make a note of that. Hold on.
I just made that up on the spot. There we go. Because so that I always thought like ego was one thing, and people say get rid of your ego, right? That's what these big guys say. Get rid of your ego. Get rid of it. I'm like, okay. So I got the books that says I can't remember what it's called, the famous one. I can't remember, but about getting rid of your ego. And I'm thinking, I was like, hold on a second. My point of view, people may agree or disagree, but my point of view is that you've got healthy and unhealthy types of ego, right? I know we're getting a bit away from acting.
No, this is good.
Is that, like, what I mean by your unhealthy ego, actually, here's a good example. So I only realized this when I read Mask of Masculinity by Lewis Howes. Okay, with the different masks, because that's how I realized, going through my process of my dad passing away, that's how I realized he was wearing masks, like a stoic mask. And I realized I'd been wearing all the masks under the sun, especially the sexual mask, with the way I was around women. That was the unhealthy ego. This is the thing. Mm-hmm. And then I started to realize, I was like, hold on a second, I don't want to get rid of all of my ego, because my good ego has given me the confidence and has made me a bit cocky, but in a good way. That's rather than just being a shy, timid guy, I'm not. And I was like, and then I made a decision. I was like, no, I don't actually want to listen to these guys. I do want to keep a certain level of ego, because people know me for that, and I like that about me. But what I do want to get rid of is the unhealthy ego, is the mask that I wear subconsciously when I'm out in different environments.
So you have enough confidence, enough ego. There's a balance now, and because you have held on to the positive side of the ego, that is actually very, very beneficial for other people right now. Right? So you might have thought it was cocky or whatever, a little bit too confident or whatever. I think we could go into detail about this, but I think there's a little bit of a difference between cockiness and confidence. And I feel like the ego kind of falls in between. It goes back and forth. And I think there are, not to bash people that aren't very confident, but there's a saying going around. What is it? So there's a very negative outlook on somebody that's like overconfident or somebody that's really, really confident, and it gets to the point where it could not be beneficial to other people. Like if you're really cocky and self-centered, that's not going to help anybody. You know what I mean? But if you're confident with who you are, who your story is, and so confident to the point where you know that you could actually help somebody, go through the same thing you've gone in the past. I think if you weren't so confident or cocky or, got rid of all your ego, you wouldn't be able to help,
Yeah, and quickly, two things you said there. Like, one, I think somebody who's overly confident, which is borderline probably the unhealthy type of the ego, people can't relate to that. They can't connect to that level because they don't have that. I think that's definitely one reason. And then I can't remember what I was just about to say there. But so in terms of what's the second thing? And that was going to be important as well. What was you just saying then?
So I was saying confidence and ego. There's a balance in there between getting overly cocky and overly confident. But I also think without confidence, without that balance, I feel like if you're losing a little bit of confidence, you're not going to post any of these videos, any tips for the day. And there's somebody out there that needs that coming off in their feed or their timeline.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, thanks for saying that. So yeah, it's actually in relation to that is that what I've realized is with a lot of people who I've spoken to who believe that they don't have a story are the people that have limiting beliefs. Mm-hmm. They don't feel like they don't feel confident. They don't feel like they have the worthy right to have a place in this world on some level of impact. And that is down. Whoever's out there who has limiting beliefs right now, who doesn't have confidence right now, is a result of some chapters that they've been through in their past. 100%.
Right.
They weren't just born with it and they didn't get it overnight. It's been implemented over time or one time, so definitely, like, you need to have some level of confidence and to believe that you have a story to share, and then to actually share is a different, like for me, I love being on camera. This is the thing, like, I love being on camera. I love talking. So that definitely helps with me getting my content out there. But then anyone can get to that stage. It's just taking a step outside your comfort zone.
Right. Quick question for you. So you're in the UK, right? This is kind of just a huge assumption, but when you were younger, drinking in the UK is pretty big, right?
Yeah.
Would you say? Okay. So did you find that you were more confident with booze or not confident with booze? Do you still drink a little bit?
Yeah, it's cut down massively, like really, really big. I
just kind of assumed that just by the way you're chatting with your energy. Like I just feel like you don't drink as much as you used to.
No, big time. And here's why. And here's actually something beneficial for your listeners as well. When I talk about chapters before, is that when we dive into our memory and we sort of grab memories as in chapters, new memory gets unlocked. If that makes sense, right?
Yep.
So like new things. So what I'm trying to say is, like, the first time that somebody sits down to write out their chapters, they may only have like 5 chapters that they can remember. But then they may go into the kitchen, make a cup of coffee, flick the kettle on, and that flicking the kettle on may trigger a different chapter. They may speak to somebody who triggers a different chapter. You should be continuously adding to your chapter list, probably nearly every single week, right? So there was one chapter. I finished college. I watched a hell of a lot of American Pie, right? And then I was like, right, I want to look up the biggest party unis in the UK. And there was a list of them. And up there, it wasn't one, but up there, definitely in the top 5, was Kent University, right? And I was like, okay, cool. And there was a 1 year abroad in America. I had a look and it was LA, and I knew that LA was party zone as well. Could be. And then I was like, okay, cool. So I'm going to apply for Kent Uni. Went to Kent Uni. Like, literally, as soon as I went in there was 2 shelves on the wall. One shelf I had already dedicated to my alcohol shelf, right? Because I had this picture, this vision in my mind that when I go to uni, it's going to be American Pie. That's all I went there for, right? Yeah. And this is the thing, I was partying every single 6 nights out of 7. I literally only gave myself 1 night off a week. So I was partying 6 nights out of 7. It was crazy. And to begin with, it was cool because I hadn't been in that environment before. So it was awesome. It's crazy. And then it started to tick on. It started to be a bit repetitive. And then I remember that I was like, right, I said to my mates, like, so have you seen Project X?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I said to my mates, like, come in my room. we all put on Project X, right? Project X finishes. I'm like, we pumped, like, yo, pumped. Like, we're going to make the best party this campus has ever seen, right? And I was there like the quarterback trying to ramp up his team, right? I said, right, we're going to organize this for next weekend. So word got out. I was like, I'm going to do shots on the door when people walk in. And we lived in a dorm, and there was 5 bedrooms in our dorm, right? There's 5 bedrooms. And I remember, like, I went crazy on this. On the top of the door frame, okay, I would have a label. One would be the beer pong room, one would be the shot room, one would be the DJ room, and it'd be all different rooms, right? And then word got out, people, like, literally, it was going crazy, yeah. And I was getting pumped, because I was like, wow, this actually coming true. And then the time came, people started to flood into this corridor and into all of our rooms, right? And then like literally half an hour later, 5 security guards come in. Yeah, shut the place down. Yeah, and then they report me. And here's the thing, like, I was near. Well, so they reported me, and then the next day we all had to go and visit our president of the campus, and he put me on my last warning before being kicked out. And there's a dean, DEAN, dean warning, and he goes, right, you're on your last warning, Perry. So you need to make a decision on what you want to do. You can't carry on the way you are, because so this was coming up towards the end of the term. So term is 3.5 months, right? And this will come up to Christmas. And he goes, right, when you come back next term, you need to be a different student. And I'd only been to 3 lectures in that term, right? So I was there for the wrong reasons. Yeah. But here's why I was going there intending, 100% intending to, because I think a switch happened. I was going to intending to go to every lecture, right? I had the dream and everything. But I remember that I went to because I did drama and film, and I went to my first film lecture. That was pretty cool, watching a film, dissecting it. Went to my first drama lecture, right? And now I knew that because I'm a method actor, right? So I knew that wasn't really diving into method, because method isn't a big thing in the UK, and a lot of the teachers are dead against method. And but the woman, I tell you what, the woman was like, somebody asked a question, and she goes, well, I just want to let you guys know that we won't be doing any practical work for the first 1.5 years of like university, right? It's all going to be theory. I remember listening to her, and I'm like, huh? No practical for the first. She goes, you could do practical outside of the lectures in your own little groups. I'm like, hold on a second, yeah? And then I just, something switched. I was like, that ain't on. You can't be telling us to sit down and do theory for 1.5 years. Like, I get this theory involved, but not, come on now. And then that rebel kicked out. And then I remember sitting down on my uni bed, and I was like, I need to make a decision here. I said, I can't carry on like this. And I made a decision to drop out of uni, move back in with my parents. But here's the thing, right? When I was...
Was that an easy decision?
It was.
That's crazy.
This is the thing. I didn't dwell on it for days and days and days. I think it took me probably about a day to really think about it. And I spoke to some of my mates in my dorm. They said I was crazy for leaving. They was like, what are you doing, man? You're Perry. Like, stay here.
Right.
And I had to fight against their voice. But this is the thing. I'm not easily swayed. Like, just because they said you should stay wouldn't make me be like, oh, okay, I'll stay then. You know, I'm quite strong in that sort of respect. And so I moved out. And then... But here's the thing, right? So I only remembered that chapter a couple of weeks ago. I was talking to one of my coaching clients, and he was talking to me about, and it was quite a similar experience, but he stayed on there, and he sold his alcohol problem going throughout college in America. And he told me about that chapter, about his alcohol experience. And I was like, oh, wow. And this is the thing. That chapter was locked away in my mind. I could never remember it until he made that trigger, and I remembered it. That's the crazy thing, which is what I'm trying to get across here, that there may be big chapters, but you just, like, an invisible cloak is over it, and it takes somebody to say something or something to happen for that invisible cloak to be lifted off, and you're like, wow, okay, cool. So that had a huge part of me.
Well, that's interesting, because now that you say that and you break it down so simply, right, I find that as soon as I post a video, right, as soon as I post a video, somebody will comment or say something or ask a question about the video that was never, ever a part of my mind until that question was asked, or, for some sort of advice or, a little bit more clarification about a part of a story that I posted or something like that. And I find that that, like you're saying, actually triggers a new chapter or an old chapter that I had locked away. And I was like, oh wow, this is crazy. And then it's the momentum just picks up, honestly. Like you forget how much shit that you've gone through, or how many things you have to talk about, and how long is a video? Like, you can't explain your whole life in 10, 20, 30 minutes. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So that's hilarious, because I'm realizing a lot more recently as I'm posting these videos, and I'm like, oh wow, the only way those chapters are going to get unlocked is if I'm sharing what's on my mind right now.
Exactly.
For those people to, it's
you
like
don't know what you don't know.
Right. And I when I first started, I thought I was going to run out of content. Right. I was like, I don't have a good story. I'm going to run out of content like this week. And then it just started picking up, and people started asking questions, and I was like, oh wait, you didn't go through that, or you need to know this, or wait, I have the answer for this, or I can help you do this. And all of a sudden, oh man, it's so crazy, especially with like website stuff right now. A lot of people need help with things I've done 4 or 5 years ago. And I was like, oh wow. So there's a whole new set of people coming in that I can just help. And that's really exciting. Listen,
yeah.
Go ahead. What were you saying?
I was just very, very quickly, I was going to say, I'm 24 years old. There's a lot of content. I should never be able to run out of content. I've been on this planet for 24 years.
Right.
And one day is 24 hours. So I've been through a lot of hours, and it's just a case of just trying to explore as much as you can into your past, and you will uncover content chapters.
I love that. Do you plan on writing a book at some point?
Oh, that was a subtle compliment, wasn't it? I have no idea what I'd write about, but I would love to write a book at some point.
Wait, you have no idea what you'd write about? You already gave us the first chapter here. This is crazy.
Yeah, no, I just want you to say that. I know.
Well, that's interesting. So, I've told you before, your voice would be great for voiceover too, if you were to read your own book. And that seems pretty popular nowadays. Everybody's kind of reading their own book. So back to acting. What did you find helpful? So did you leave LA and you went back to the UK? Did you?
I was never in LA.
Oh, you never ended up going to LA?
No.
Oh, I thought you.
It was never.
I'm sorry. I thought you said.
Sorry. So, you talk about uni.
Yeah.
The uni. Sorry, my bad. No, because uni. That year abroad in LA would have been in the 3rd year, and I lost 3 months.
Oh, gotcha. So you never made it.
No, I was a long way off.
Wow. Oh my God. Okay. So when did you? So acting after you went to school there, and she was talking about the theory. You're not going to do anything practical. Similar thing happened to me. What did you do after you left? Did you still pursue acting? Did you start learning how to shoot your own stuff with friends and stuff?
Yeah, this is the thing. So like when I was in secondary school, so I've got 2 cousins, a brother and sister, Greg and Becky.
For people in America, what is secondary school?
High school.
High school.
I actually say high school, and I have no idea why I say secondary school, because secondary school takes like an hour just to say that. High school is over and done with. I prefer that way of saying it. I was in high school, and then I got 2 cousins, brother and sister, Greg and Becky. Greg is a director, and he's quite successful, which I'm quite proud of. He's come a long way. And then we've got Becky, who she's done a lot of acting work, but she's more of a producer. And I remember being in high school and I was sitting down with Becky, and how old was I? Must have been like 14, 15. And we were talking about what we want to do. And I remember saying to her, I was just saying to her, I was young. I was like, I would love to be an actor. At that time, I didn't know much that goes into it. But now I couldn't imagine anything, which I'll get into in a second, because I know you'll be able to relate to it. But I said to her, I want to be an actor. She goes, is there anything else that you would love to do? And I think I said to her, I'm pretty sure because I've always had a fascination with service, like military and police. I've always had a fascination with it. And I would have joined the Marines if my dad never gave me consent before the age of 16. And then I got to 18, I still wanted to join. He couldn't say anything, but I won't say guilt tripped me, but I knew that, like, he called me up one Christmas, and the military were calling in on this radio show to get connected with their wives to say Merry Christmas. And I remember him calling me up, crying down the phone, and goes, I don't want you to have to call me up on a radio show, or even worse, you want on the other line, kind of thing. And I know some people won't agree with how he did that, which I understand, but I'm not in his shoes. I don't know what I'll be like when I've got a kid. But he was only thinking the worst of what could happen to joining the military. So I decided to withdraw my application. But I remember when I was saying to Becky, I'm pretty sure I said something to do with policing. She goes, if there's even a smidgen of you possibly wanting to do anything else, I will go and do that, because you're in for a tough ride when it comes to acting. But if you are 100% certain that you want to go in, you want to be an actor, then you make sure you give it your 100%. So I was like, okay, cool. And like, it's like hard work doesn't, it might send some people away, but it doesn't faze me. I was like, no, I want to do it. So I took up acting classes through secondary school. I went to college, which for you guys, what age are you in high school until?
Most people graduate at like 18 or I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah. Like 17 or 18.
Okay. So I think pretty sure, I could be wrong. I have no idea about the education system now, but I'm pretty sure it's changed to 18 over here. But for me, you leave high school when you're 16 and then you can either go to sixth form or you go to college, which is basically like a university, right? But you can go there for 2 or 3 years. So I went to college and I studied performing arts for 3 years. And that was really my first professional experience where we're doing theatre shows. I did my own play, wrote my own play as well. And,
amazing. So you wrote one too?
Yeah. Amazing. I love writing, yeah. But this is the thing, like, the reason why I wrote my own play is because I was fed up of doing other people's, because it wasn't my style.
Right.
Because I remember, we were doing it, and it was just an amazing experience. And then I went to a different college, finished my education, wrote another play to do, and just had people coming in, just really, really amazing. And then I did loads of classes outside of that, like in London, and then I went to, which really transformed me. It was a method acting boot camp, which is a 3-day course by his actual. So his name is Brian Timoney. He's a student of somebody who was actually taught by Sanford Meisner.
Right.
Which is really cool. So, yeah, I went to that, and that really transformed me, because I remember being at this method acting boot camp, and I think I made this in one of my posts a couple of days ago, and that was really about getting you out your comfort zone, because there's so many different. I don't know if you touched upon method acting or dived into that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
for sure.
So yeah, so
that's the only way I can learn there. That was the one that triggered the most acting, I suppose, or the most emotion for me, anyway.
Yeah, because I mean, for me, this is the thing. Like, and I love this. I never get into debates, but I will always. This is the only thing that I'm passionate about enough that I'll get into a debate about is with somebody who doesn't agree with method acting. I love it, because like they're like, oh, I don't understand why you have to actually live the character. I don't actually have to, like, and things like that. But I'm like, well, if I don't truly believe if I don't truly become this character I'm playing, then I feel like I'm just myself on stage, just saying these words and feeling these emotions kind of thing. But when I was at this method acting boot camp, it's all about getting you out your comfort zone, right? Like becoming an animal and really getting yourself, letting these emotions flood through you. And at that stage in my life, I was still wearing a mask. I was being this man's man. So when everyone around me is crying and talking about their past, I was blocking it up. So I was the only one I wasn't crying. I was blocking it up, right? But I was like, I ain't blocking it up, bro. No, nothing's wrong. But I knew there was, right? And I remember there was this one scene where all the girls had to sit down in a chair, and then the music came on, and all the guys had to do a striptease to the girls on a chair, right? Brian was like, I really want to see you guys. Everyone there was getting like their clothes. They wouldn't get butt naked, but they left their boxers on. But like they were stripping their clothes off, really getting into it. And me, I was so self-conscious. Like looking back on it, which I only did that reflection work a couple of weeks ago, and I made the post a couple of days ago. And I was looking back on it. I was like, I didn't take my top off, you know, and I was just being so awkward. And that was because like I wasn't myself, you know. Like if you get a typical man to man, they wouldn't do that. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Because it's really outside their comfort zone. And I remember it made me realize about getting out of comfort zone. And yeah, I thought I had all this confidence, but it was almost like a fake confidence. Because if I was truly confident with who I was, I wouldn't have had necessarily much of a problem doing that. And then I said on my post the other day, I was like, but if I was to go to that boot camp now, I would walk to that place naked. Like, you know, right, yeah. Like the difference, right?
Exactly.
It's just crazy. But yeah, Absolutely love it, man. It's just because just the thought, the best way for me to sum it up is Robert De Niro once said it was the best thing about acting is living in someone else's shoes without paying the consequences.
Right.
I was like,
That's amazing.
yeah.
That's amazing.
I was like, man, yes, I can. You're trying to tell me that I can become a policeman, so to speak, but not pay the consequences? Like, wow. Yeah, man, that's amazing.
Well, yeah, I mean, I feel like right now my work is literally just like sitting at a desk all day with a computer, just talking to people or whatever. Like that's really exciting for me, but I would also like to experience what it would be like to be a cop, you know, and have these, you know, cars blowing up in the background or do a you know, movie where I'm part of the Marines or something, you know what I mean? And, I've always felt that way where it's just like, well, I mean, and think about it. The guys that really go through it, like Bradley Cooper and you know, you see these guys and they'll actually go through a boot camp, or they'll actually go through training to at least build some kind of memory bank of something they can pull from when they're on set, you know, acting. It's crazy. Are you producing anything now? You guys got anything in the works?
No, so this is the thing, right? So I went traveling, and then I came back. I was like, right, this is my moment. This is my time where I'm going straight in. Because I remember when I left school and I was in college, I had an agent, right? And they'll booking me, you know, loads of auditions. They're doing a very good job. I didn't land anything, right? But I didn't have any proper training. I just thought I was great, but I wasn't, right? And this is the thing. This is that negative ego, thinking I was everything, but I wasn't. And and then the auditions started to die down. And I wasn't in that mentality where I get my own work. I was expecting my agent to get me everything, right? As we know, is not the case. And I ended up emailing them, firing them. And because I thought I could do better on my own, and then I think it died down, and then I went traveling, came back, moved to London. I was like, okay, cool. So I'm gonna start going to classes and start getting work on my own. I did a few student films, and then I started to do work. You know, like the typical, as you're an actor, you become a bartender kind of thing, just to finance your way through it. I did so many jobs, and the thing with me, if I don't like it, I won't do it, and that's a bad flaw for some people. I know Andy Frisella makes a big point in that on his podcast. Like, he goes, you know, if you're in a bad state, you go and mop a kitchen floor, and you'd be proud of doing it. And whenever I hear him say those words, I'm like, but I can't, even though it's a bad thing about me, right? So I'm doing all these jobs, and I'm like, I'm here for a bigger purpose. I can't be doing these jobs. I can't be pulling this guy a pint. Like, I shouldn't be here. You know, that's always going from, I couldn't do one shift happy. I was so unhappy, negative. And I tried all these different jobs, and I'm like, I'll quit this job, but okay, this job will be better. And I just came to the realization that no job I'm going to do is going to be good. I remember working for a call center for Witch magazine. They only hired actors, which is pretty cool because the guy who runs it was an ex-actor. And this is an actor's paradise because it's a call center, and you can literally work any hours you want. And let's just say for the next week, you book in for 40 hours to work in a call center, and last minute you get an acting job or on this audition. All you got to do is send the manager your agent email that says you got an audition, and then he lets you off. So it's perfect, right?
Yeah,
and I did it. I lasted 3 shifts because it was so repetitive, and I can't do this. And then I had to, again, like in uni, I had to sit down, like, Perry, because the unhappiness was spilling over into the quality of my acting work. I was like, you got to do something here, even if it's putting acting on the back burner for a while. And I was like, what makes you happy? And I said, fitness. So shortening the story, I became a personal trainer. And actually, this is how I got into your entrepreneurial world, is through acting. So right now, I'm waiting for a little bit to build up what I'm doing now. And then what I'm going to do is finance. Yeah.
Amazing.
Is finance. Brian Timoney, what I mentioned about before, the acting bootcamp, he has a year-long course, which is 17, 18 grand, £1,000, right? Which is probably about $22,000. And it's 1 weekend a month for a year. And it is the perfect training. Like, it's what I vision. And I want to do that. And but I don't want to be paying it monthly. I want to whack it all on. I just want to pay it so it's done. So I'm just waiting to get, and this is the thing, like, some people are like, oh, you're not acting right now, so you don't want to do it. And that used to affect me. Because it used to be like they're punching my heart. Like, Perry, you're not doing acting anymore. I'm guessing you dropped out of that, like everything else. I'm like, and I bite my tongue now because I'm like, it's cool. They don't understand. You know, it's not like they don't understand. They don't need to understand. I'm getting there. but I'm taking a little bit of a different route to get there.
Dude,
More of a happier route.
I couldn't have said it better myself, and I'm so happy you're on the same page. Because I felt like I was giving up acting when I was just watching all my friends do the same exact thing and nobody was doing anything, dude. Like, they were all doing the same thing. They were all auditioning. They were all getting told no. Some would try to write scripts, but then never produce it, or some would, produce something and then want to post it and try to make another one, but you only have so many friends and family members that can donate to your little fun project. So I said, you know what, I gotta take it upon myself to come outside of it and look at it from a bird's eye view and figure out what the industry, where it's going, first of all, where and how, as an actor, you can kind of like take your rights back, basically, and start monetizing your own thing on your own empire, on your own platform, whatever. And because I was like, I have a problem with getting told no, personally, myself. So if I knew that I could do one of the roles and I was going for an audition and they would say, oh, we'll call you, I was like, just don't bullshit me. Like, just tell me I don't fit for the role or whatever, and that would really piss me off. So then I said, well, fuck it. I have friends writing me scripts already. And then it seemed like everything I knew about how to get an acting job turned out you didn't really need to do any of it. There was just a whole bunch of like fluff within the system that if you just focused on what you wanted to do and started hanging out with the right people, and I don't mean like casting agents and stuff. I mean, if you started hanging out with people that were motivated to produce stuff like you, all of a sudden you had your own content. So same goes for me. My long-term goal is to be able to come back in and have my own little Netflix, but with a fan base that pays me directly, no third party, no none of that. So anybody that we bring on board automatically makes money for what they've produced. You know what I mean? Because I feel like that's the only way to do it. Not selling the rights to anything. And you can see Disney's doing that right now. They're taking all their shit off Netflix and like everybody's trying to like control. Yeah, everybody's got their own streaming platform now. Everybody's trying to control their own content now because it's just got so wild, and you don't have control over the image that you're trying to portray with that story or that message that you wanted to get out in the first place. You know what I mean? It can be corrupt really, really fast. So
yeah, you know what's crazy is that you could probably actually I know you'll be able to relate, is that if I stayed in that acting journey and I carried on getting those auditions, I mean, I don't know where that route would have taken me, but I can guarantee you I wouldn't be the type of person that I am now with this mindset. 100%.
For sure.
Because now I've faced 4 years worth of, I mean, I know in acting you're facing rejection, and in entrepreneurship this is my 5th year and I face constant rejection, constant failure. And these lessons that I've learned, how to talk to people, how to build relationships, how to talk to people like yourself who's in a completely different country, and with my mission and with everything like that, I know for a fact that when it's time, like truly time to go back into acting, it's going to be a different story, because I'm going to be such a different person as before, and
you'll have so many things to draw from when it comes to your
story.
Scene,
yeah.
This
is the thing. When it comes to creating a character, I'm like, right, so I need to portray this emotion here. Back to method. What chapter of my life can I link that? And then that's the thing, man. It all pays off in the end.
Full circle. That's so funny. All right, listen. So I don't even know how long we've been doing this podcast. Hang on 1 second.
It feels like 2 minutes, man.
I know, this is crazy. We've been on for an hour. Listen, I wanted to talk to you real quick. I have a couple of fun questions to ask. One would be, what's your favorite book and why?
Favorite book and why? Okay. Oh, easy. Master of Masculinity, Lewis Howes. Why? Because it literally, people say, oh yeah, that changed my life. No, literally changed my life, because it made me realize that I was wearing these different types of masks. One of the biggest one was the sexual mask, and as soon as I realized that, I took it off and I made an oath to never put that mask back on. And I haven't, and then it made me realize that my dad was wearing a lot of masks. Like, it changed my life like there's no tomorrow. And I've told Lewis Howes, and I love that how he does respond back to his Instagram messages, because he's responded back to every single Instagram message I've ever sent him, and he's always thanked me for the words I spoke to him about the book.
So do you find that reaching out to I guess new celebrities, right? These new entrepreneurs, do you find they're fairly accessible on Instagram?
Yeah, I definitely would say I know it's a bit of a silly answer, but I'd definitely say it depends on who it is. But I would say more cases than not, But this is the thing. Like I actually tested it. I responded, sent a message to some fitness professionals, right, who doesn't even have a following on the same level as Lewis Howes, right?
Right.
But they don't even respond back to any of them.
Right.
So it really does. It's a hard one to answer, but it does depend.
Yeah. So I've had in the fitness industry, I've had a lot of success reaching out to, men's physique guys through Twitter. It's like a less channeled. I don't know why, dude, but like each one of them, I had 3 of them. I contacted all 3 and all 3 replied, which is kind of crazy, but that doesn't happen to me on Instagram. That's why I'm asking.
Was there Instagram? I think I've used. Actually, I do have a Twitter account. That was back in my acting days because it's one of my headshots.
Well, see, nobody uses Twitter, so I feel like if you get a notification over there, you're just like, oh wait, where's this?
That's probably true. Yeah.
Not that nobody uses it, but I feel like I don't use it anymore.
It's big in the acting industry, though.
It is huge, yeah. For entertainers, it's huge. The other question is, I saw you in a Packers jersey, and I want to say why.
I got a hint of negativity behind that why. This is the thing. Somebody did a message. Somebody said to me, he's an American. He goes, somebody said, "What is your dream car?" Right? And I said that my dream car. People say like Lamborghinis or some type of sports car. I'm the guy who would like a Lamborghini, but it's not my dream car. Sure. I have an everyday car and I have a weekend car, like a luxury car. So my everyday car is a Chevy pickup truck. Nice. Simple. Chevy Silverado, I think you pronounce it Silverado pickup truck. And then my weekend car is a 1967 Chevrolet Impala, black. Right? Yep. And this guy messaged me, goes, "You are the most American British guy I have ever come across." And I was like, you know what? It's true. I hate English TV shows and English films.
Oh my
I don't
God.
like it.
We're the opposite, dude.
Yeah. But I think it's because from an early age, all I've watched is American stuff. And in relation to the Packers, my dad installed a Sky. Do you guys have Sky over there?
I know what it is, though, yeah.
Oh, okay. So yeah, he installed a Skybox into my bedroom.
For the listeners, it's like a Direct TV type of thing. It's that kind of cable internet type thing, right?
Yeah, basically
basic television.
Yeah. So he installed a Skybox into my bedroom. I must have been 12, 13 at the time. So he installed it in my bedroom, and I remember walking in. Not really knowing what it was, because to be honest, that's quite. I mean, now it's an everyday thing, but definitely back then, it's a bit of a luxury to have that in your bedroom at that age. And I remember going to the sports channel, and I just saw like American football. I didn't know what it was really. I put it on, and there was a game being played. It's like, oh wow, this is cool. And I remember saying, whoever wins this match, I'm going to support for the rest of my life. I always remember saying that. Yeah, I remember sitting on my bed watching the game, and the Packers won. I'm like, oh well, that settled it then.
Do you know who they were playing?
My guns. I was trying to think about this the other day, and I was like, dang, I can't remember who they're playing.
That's so funny.
But, dude, I'm hardcore NFL/Packers fan. Like, it's crazy, and because it's not big, but it's getting bigger, because now there's, I think, 3 games a year now within the NFL season over here being played in Wembley and Twickenham Stadium now, actually, funny enough. It's the first year. But yeah, who do you support?
So I support New England Patriots. that's my team. But it's funny because I had a British girlfriend for several years, and I was introduced to Welsh girlfriend, sorry, for several years, and she introduced me to rugby and everything. So now I'm a fan of the Welsh rugby and, Cardiff's soccer team. And so I just like, that just came out of nowhere for me. I didn't pick like Man U or anything like that. It's just like, so I was interested because, a lot of, when I had a lot of British friends, I still have a lot of British friends that went to acting school here. And they all just kind of jumped on whatever bandwagon, team that was around, and I ended up doing like the Pats. Yeah, exactly. She was a Pats fan, but then everybody else in New York was like a Giants fan. So then people would be like, "Oh, well, I like the Giants," and then for baseball, they were like, "Oh, I like the Yankees." And it just seems like you go with your first team that you're introduced to the sport, which is why I was asking.
I've never actually met a Packers fan in the. No, actually, I haven't. I don't think I've seen 1 or 2 people walking around with a Packers jacket, but I've never actually, because it's not the glory team you go after. No. Right? Yeah. I mean, it should be, but Rodgers, I mean, Jesus, we got injured in the first bloody game. You know, he gets
He
injured every
came,
year.
he came back though. He came back.
He did, but come on now. Yeah.
That's funny. But no, when I saw the jersey, the first thing that came to my head was, oh man, do they even have fans?
Do they even have fans over there?
I'm just fucking with you. So we have that, and then Headspace. You and I both bumped heads on
Yeah.
or not bumped heads on this, but we both have this in common. So why do you use Headspace? Is that part of a morning routine if you have one, or is it part of your routine throughout the day? Or
Yeah. So this is the thing. I'm not even going to sound like I'm an angel here. I've fallen out of routine probably for maybe about a week and a half to 2 weeks out of routine, because I was listening to it every single day. Now I listen to it every other day. But now, because I've said this out loud, I have to now go back into it.
yes, you don't have to. I just wanted to know
for
if you
me
have.
though.
Oh, gotcha,
for me
gotcha.
though, I do. For me though, I do. But yeah, when I do use Headspace, one, why do I use it? Is because I think we spoke about this. Is because it's a guy's voice, right?
Yeah.
So I downloaded the first time somebody told me to use Headspace. I downloaded, I think, 4 or 5 different meditation apps. I tried them all out, and their voices, one of them annoyed me, and then the other ones it just didn't relax me, just didn't vibe with me. Headspace, I just found it very soothing, just the way he talks. I just found it very relaxing. So that's why I picked it. I think it's very beautifully designed. And when I do use Headspace, it's in the morning. So it's part of the morning routine. But what I will tell you, which I think is vitally important, which I do every single night, is I listen to Bob Proctor. I listen to his abundance meditation every night to go to sleep. And he's the best guy I've ever had in bed. And
well done.
It's a meditation app that's about 17-18 minutes long, I think. I never ever make it past the 10-minute mark.
Wow.
He conks me out every single time. I've never gotten to the end of the podcast and to the end of the meditation.
That's
powerful.
crazy.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna have to make a note of that and check it out. The last question is, if you had, what does your perfect day look like as far as routine? I know things come up and you can't always do,
Of course,
all 7 things you want to do right when you wake up. But if you could, what would a perfect day for you look like?
So perfect day would be I know a lot, like some people, their perfect day would be to wake up at whatever time, but my perfect day is to wake up early. So my perfect day would be get up maybe about 5. Okay. I want to get up. And like my dream home is a home looking over Bondi Beach in Australia. Okay. So I want to be able to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning because I've got a beautiful dog and I want to have 3 dogs. Basically look over the beach, to wake up, have a coffee, looking over the beach, do some meditation in the morning and go and have a workout, come back, and it's 9 a.m., for example. And this is the thing, like, with my perfect day, if I have to be doing stuff, I can't be the guy who just sits there and maybe just looks at the scenery, because I get bored very easily. So I need to be doing stuff. So things like coaching calls with like my dream clients, which is people that I'm working with now, but just people I really, really get on with. Just having a couple of coaching calls throughout the day. And then just hanging out with friends and family. Like, it's not even complex. It's just a very simple. My dream day is literally just to be able to wake up by the beach. Like right now, if you said to me, what's my dream day right now? It will be to travel to somewhere where there's a beach. So it's to basically live on the beach, be around my dogs, and to be working with my clients, not to be glued. Like, I would like to have my assistant that creates content. I don't want to be glued, which I am now, to my computer screen, creating all my content. But I think it's very necessary in the beginning stages because it builds this mind, it builds the way you flow, gets your voice. But I'm just working with clients and just chilling out in the evenings with friends in person, not over the phone.
Perfect. That's a great answer.
Simple.
Simple. Yeah. No, you don't need to complicate it, right? That's it.
What about you? I'm interested to know about you.
Oh man. A perfect day for me would be to wake up early. I would say probably around 6 o'clock. Right now I don't set an alarm. I'm trying to like naturally wake up, and it seems to be around 6 o'clock right now. I've kind of like moved it back slowly for some reason. But alarms that are actual alarms, I hate. So if I were to do an alarm, it'd have to be some kind of like music or something I produced, really, really simple to hear, really easy, like good notes and stuff. But anyways, so I would say wake up fairly early, 6 o'clock, and then meditate right off the bat and listen to some affirmations. I've been listening to affirmations. Sam Ovens, you're familiar with Sam Ovens?
Yeah.
He says, he was like, hey, just read these affirmations. If you can, record it and play it back. So I've been listening to affirmations that I've, created and just played them back. It's probably like 15 minutes or so. And it's just basically telling me, about confidence, like you're confident, whatever, or, I'm a confident, I read it myself. So it's like, I'm confident in this, I can do this, I can handle excessive amounts of money when I hire new clients. I love taking new clients on, whatever. And that's really helping me lately. So it would be that little bit of meditation. And then I go play basketball for like an hour or two. And then the gym. And then I would say basketball for about an hour and then the gym. And then if I could catch a movie in the theater, that would be an ideal day. And then I would say, from then on, just conversations like this with people that, I can build relationships with, friendships with. And if I had a podcast episode every day and I could just post videos like that, it would be ideal.
This is the thing, dude. Like you're saying that, it's like, well, hold on a second.
Oh, and food.
I mean, food, yeah. I'm
like 7 meals.
7 meals, yeah, man. Just Dwayne Johnson it out, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm like, actually, hold on, but my dream day, that probably is an essence, but maybe not every day has to be like that for me. Because I'm like, if I could picture what I really love, and it is just to be on set and creating a beautiful piece of like movie that families go out and look forward to and see, and it inspires them when I walk out of the movie theater, and like that for me gets me pumped and excited. But when you were saying, I've got a question for you. What has been the best film you've seen within the last year?
Oh, God. Within the last year?
Very quickly, you know what? Somebody messaged me yesterday. I don't know if you have this as well, but he messaged me. He goes, what's your top 5 films? I'm like, dude. I can't answer that for you.
Yeah.
I actually said to him, give me to the end of the day. That was 2 days ago.
Really?
I can't do it.
I don't have a favorite. I would say within the past year, though, honestly, maybe Phantom Thread, if you saw that.
I didn't know.
I'm trying to think of the guy's name. He's wicked famous. I can't even think of his name. But Phantom Thread was about a guy that makes dresses for a living, and he is extremely passionate about. I can't.
Daniel Day-Lewis.
Yes.
Yeah,
amazing.
Of course you did. It's Method. That's why.
Amazing.
He's an awesome guy.
And then
haven't actually seen that yet.
It's incredible. I'll bet you can relate to a couple things he says, and then a couple things are like the big ego, and it's like, ooh.
It's British, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is it not a British film?
Yep.
Yeah. Cool.
That's probably why you haven't watched it. All right, man. Well, listen, it was fantastic getting you on here. Go ahead. What we said?
I was just going to say very quickly, I want to know if you've seen this film. And, this is just typical me because I forgot the name. I'm pretty sure it's like the Glass House. Glass House?
No, I don't think so.
You're not seeing that, dude. That was been one of the best films I've seen in actually probably a couple of years. The Glass House. Harrelson. What's his name? Harrelson. He did True Detective with.
Oh, Woody Harrelson.
Woody Harrelson. Yeah, it's him. It's his film. Beautiful film.
Interesting.
Very good acting. But yeah, that was it for me.
Oh, one more question. Do you have? This is going to keep going. One more. Wait. Do you have a specific show that you would recommend? Say like something to binge, because I'm a huge. I only have a select few shows that I really really like.
This is going to be very biased of me to say, but I don't know if you've seen it. But I wouldn't base this on. Well, it is good quality acting, but I'm based this because I am such a kid when it comes to this TV show, and it's Supernatural.
Okay, I haven't seen that, and I hear it's really good, so I'm gonna.
Oh, there we go, dude. My favorite classic car is the '67 Chevy Impala.
Yep.
That's a car from the film. A lot of my past has been based around that. Like it's just because it. Yeah, it sounds sad, but it's just an incredible TV show.
Amazing. All right, dude. That is going to be the last question.
I've actually got one more. No, I'm joking. Yeah.
We're going to have to do this again sometime. I'll get you on a podcast
again
very
great,
soon.
Man.
This has been fantastic.
Very good.
I can't wait to see what we keep coming up with.
Awesome, dude. Well, thank you for having me on.
Before we go, this isn't the last question, but this is for the audience. Is there something that you would like to give to the audience if they hear this, or where can they find you? If say they just want to share their story, where should they reach out to you best? Is that Facebook, Instagram?
Yeah, cool. So the only two social media platforms I use is Facebook and Instagram. And literally my name is the easiest name you can ever remember, and that's Perry Power. Okay, so just literally put in Perry Power onto Facebook and Instagram, I come up. Well, actually, my Instagram handle was Perry Willpower because my middle name's Will. Gets even better.
That's great. That is perfect for you. That's amazing.
It's so fitting for what I do as well.
Oh my God.
And growing up, people always used to thought that was my stage name as well, which is quite funny.
That is amazing.
But I have a Facebook group as well, which is personal branding and storytelling hacks for entrepreneurs. So if any of you guys want to build that up, you can join a free Facebook group. But when you go on my Facebook wall, you'll see it there. That's all you guys need.
What's the name of the group?
It's called Personal Branding and Storytelling Hacks for Entrepreneurs.
All right, man. Again, thank you so much for being on the show.
No problem, dude. It's been one of the best podcasts I've been on, man. The flow has been insane. I loved it.
Good. We'll do one next time, and I'll keep it longer. I'll come up with more questions, and it's gonna.
Wait, hold up, dude. You're gonna come on mine?
Yeah, absolutely.
I've got a power show. You're gonna come on? There
absolutely.
we go.
Oh. Okay. What's the name of that one?
Oh, that would probably help, wouldn't it? So I've got a podcast series show called The Power Show, and that basically is I'm really wanting to take it to that new levels, and each show is a guest just talking about their story, about the struggles that they've been through, the lessons that they've learned, and it's just diving into people's lives.
And
Simple.
I'm gonna help you get that up to like Spotify and Stitcher and iTunes and whatever else. And so I remind me to do that because I want to show you. I just want to show you the editing software that I used to get it up there, or the publishing software, and then we'll be able to get that going.
Yeah, I've because somebody showed me ages ago from the mastermind, so it's already on Spotify and iTunes.
Oh, it is. Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's on there. It's just the biggest issue that I've got right now. Yeah, so you guys, you can go on Spotify and iTunes, go to the Power Show.
So bad at promoting our own stuff.
I know, dude. Definitely to get better at it, but it's the editing software that just gets right on my nerves.
Well, check out this link. Oh, that's because you have a Chromebook, though. That sucks.
I know. Thank you for reminding me, dude.
All right, bro. I'll talk to you soon, and keep in touch, please. All right?
Yeah, dude, 100%, man. Right, I'll catch you later. Have a good evening, and I'll see you guys later.
Take care.
Cheers.